Okay, fifth graders, we're starting chapter 13, section 1. And this section and this chapter really is all about order of operations. And I don't know if actually you guys are taught that in fourth grade. I'll have to ask somebody Monday and see if you are. I took this little sign here and I blew it up so you could see it a little bit better, even though it's a little bit blurry. So there's some steps to order of operations. And the first thing you want to do is you evaluate or you solve what's inside first the parentheses, brackets, and braces. And so I'm just going to kind of draw these here. Parentheses, this is what they're talking about, just putting parentheses around something. Brackets, what we have here, they're more like I don't know, they call them brackets. They're more like little half squares. And then the last ones, they call them braces. They kind of have a little knob in the middle of them. And I could never draw braces very well. I know some teachers can draw these perfect braces. I never could. Mine always look kind of funky. Anyways, that's my best attempt at drawing a brace. So you do what's inside the parentheses first. That would be these here. And then brackets. That would be these here. And then finally, what they call braces, those there. And then you multiply and divide from left to right, just like you would read something. Like we read this sentence, multiply and divide from left to right. So we're going from left to right. And then the same thing, you would add and subtract from left to right. And they give us a good example here, and I'm just going to walk you guys through it here. It says Jack evaluated, and you can see what they have there. It's 7 times 2, and that's within some parentheses. And then those are also with that minus 3 is within some brackets. And then they have 8 or plus 8 and divided by 2 times 3. And so when you look at that, the very first thing he's got to do is whatever is within the parentheses, the brackets, and the braces, the furthest in as you go through them. And in this particular example, it's the 7 times 2. Well, what is 7 times 2? That's going to be 14. So then, and you can see that they have them here in red, and so you can get rid of those. You can drop them. And so what are you left with? You have the 14. So they drop those, and then they change the 7 times 2 to 14. And then the 14 minus 3 is within some brackets. And so then that's the next thing you would do. So what's 14 minus 3? That's 11. So they have that here. And then after that, then you have 11 plus 8 divided by 2 times 3. Well, the order of operations, and I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I'm going to show you guys something. It's called Pemdas. And simply put, you do parentheses first, and that's the brackets and the parentheses and the braces. That's all those. You do those first. And the next thing you would do would be any exponents that you see. And I think you guys remember what an exponent is. If you have a number, let's say it's 7, and it has a little exponent of 3. Remember, the 3 is the exponent. So any numbers with an exponent, you would do that next. And then you would do multiplication and division, and you would go from left to right. And it wouldn't matter if multiplication came first or division came first, you would just go left to right. And then finally, you're going to do adding and subtracting. And again, just left to right. It wouldn't matter if you would add or subtract first. So that's really important to memorize. That's something you guys are going to have to memorize. And this is really going to come into play a lot come 6th and 7th grade and junior high. Here's another way to look at it. I just wanted to show you guys this. Again, Pemdas. The P stands for the parentheses. And let me do that right there. And then the E stands for the exponents. They give us an example there. And then multiplication and division, you'd multiply or divide, and again from left to right. And then finally adding and subtracting. So that's what PEMDAS stands for, and they give you a visual example with each one. There's one more little chart I can show you that might help you guys understand this. Order of operations. Here it is, PEMDAS. And again, they give you an example of each one. And then they tell you what it is. The P is for the parentheses. E is for exponents. And then the M for multiplication and division. And that, again, from left to right. And then addition and subtraction from left to right. So with that newfound knowledge, let's go back to where we were here at the very top, that example that we were walking through. And last thing we did was the 14 minus 3, which was 11. And then we have an 11 plus 8 divided by 2 times 3. Well, remember order of operations, PEMDAS. Before you do any addition or subtraction, which in this case would be the 11 plus 8, before you would do that, you would do the division. 8 divided by 2. Well, what's 8 divided by 2? That's 4. And then what's 4 times 12? That's the next thing you would do. So that you don't do the addition, because you have multiplication and division that you have to deal with. So 4 times 3, well, it's 4 times 3, that's 12. Now you can do it. Now you can do the addition, which is 11 plus whatever this answer, or these ended up being, which happened to be 12. So then 11 plus 12 is what? 23. Okay. So the question that convinced me, it says, would the value of, and they have a 2 plus 15 minus 3 minus 6 divided by 2, and of course all those are in a variety of parentheses, brackets, and braces. And it says, would the value change if the braces were removed? And remember braces, and it's really kind of hard to see, but I think the braces looks like they're the furthest one out. So I'm going to rewrite this problem without the braces. Looks like it's 2 plus, and then we have a bracket, and then a parentheses, 15 minus 3, and then I have a parentheses, and then minus 6, and then we have the next bracket. And again, we're dropping these braces here, and again, they're kind of hard to see. And then it would be divided by 2. Well, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And I'm gonna leave it at that. This one is kind of a complicated one to start off with, so I don't even worry about explaining it. I'm not worried about that. That's we're taking a big step here before we really have some other examples. So I wrote this one down. Look at this, and I used algebra. What I mean by that is I just used letters here, you guys. I didn't even worry about numbers. What's the first thing you would do in this problem? What's the very first thing you would do? Well, what's in the innermost between the braces, brackets, and parentheses? Well, the x plus y. That's the first thing you would do. You would add x plus y. Whatever x and y are, it's irrelevant. That's the first thing you would do. What's the next thing you would do? Well, if we got rid of what's around the x and the y, then the next thing you would do, whatever that is, minus z. That's the next thing you would do. And then after that, you would drop the brackets, and the next thing you would do would be the whatever that answer is, you would divide that into p. That's the next thing you would do. And then finally, what's on the outside of all the parentheses, brackets, and braces is the plus a. That's the last thing you would do in this particular problem. All right? So let's go through the guided practice. And I think for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to have you guys maybe do the guided practice and maybe the independent practice. And then we'll take a close look at those tomorrow. And then maybe for Tuesday, I'll just have you guys do the problem solving. So anyways, let's go back to this here. Let's look at the guided practice. And it says, explain the steps involved in evaluating the expression, because that's what we're doing. You notice that none of these problems have an equal sign. Remember, those are an equation. If they don't have an equal sign, then they're just expressions. So we're evaluating these expressions. All right, so let's look at this first one here. It says, explain the steps involved in evaluating the expression. And then we have in the innermost between the parentheses, brackets, and braces is a 4 plus 2. And so what would you say? You would add 4 plus 2. I guess I'd just say first. And then once you do that, then you're going to do what's within the brackets looks like, which is going to be a minus 1. So 4 plus 2 is going to be 6. So then, I guess I'll just put a then. It would be 6 minus 1. And finally, that answer would be times 3 multiplied by 3. All right. Look at number 2. It says, would the value of 12 minus 4 divided by 4 minus 1 change if the parentheses were removed? It says, explain. Let's write this out here. So we have a parenthesis, 12 minus 4, and then I'm going to close the parenthesis, and then I'm going to have a divided by 4 minus 1. And then I'm going to write it again here. I'm going to write 12 minus 4 divided by 4 minus 1. So let's do the one with the parentheses first. We're going to do this one first here. Let's take a look at it here. So what's the first thing we do? Well, we got to do what's in parentheses first. Remember, Pemdas, parentheses come first. What's 12 minus 4? So it's 8. So I can drop those now because I've now solved what's within them. So we have 8, and I'm going to write down divided by 4 minus 1. So we have division and we have subtraction. What would we do first? Well, if you don't remember, go down to the Pemdas chart or example that I showed you guys, and you can pull up one on your Chromebook and look yourselves. You do multiplication and division before you do addition and subtraction. So go back to this problem here. So I would do the division first. What's 8 divided by 4? That's 2. So, and now it's 2 minus 1. And so what's 2 minus 1? 1. So we're done. Now let's look and see if that's going to be any different if we do the same problem without the parentheses. So remember, order of operations. What do you do first? You do, in this case, we have subtraction, division, subtraction. So what's the first thing we do? Well, we would do multiplication and division before we would do any subtraction. So what's 4? So that's what we're going to do first. What's 4 divided by 4? That's 1. So I can rewrite this now, drop down the next step. So that's actually 12 minus 1 minus 1. Because I did the division. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So 12 minus 1. Now we just have subtraction left. And we just go from left to right. What's 12 minus 1? Well, 12 minus 1 is 11. All right? What's 11 minus 1? 10. So does the answer change if we remove the parentheses? Oh, most definitely, yes. And it says explain. Well, I just walk through the steps. So that would be a lot to write down, But, you know, if you've got it there somewhere, that's fine. All right. So it says, how do you know? I'm looking at 3 through 6 here. Use the order of operations to evaluate the expression. Do what's in the parentheses first. But let's look at one without the parentheses. Let's look at number 4 here. Here's a fairly easy one. 17 plus 4 times 3. What do you do first? A lot of you might think, oh, I'm going to 17 plus 4. No. You do 4 times 3 first. You do, I'm going to go back to the chart here, the Pemdas chart. You do multiplication and division before you do addition and subtraction. Okay? So let's go back to that one. Number 4 we're looking at. And number 4, so it's going to be 4 times 3. What's 4 times 3? That's 12. So this becomes 17 plus 12. Well, what's 17 plus 12? It's going to be 29. So there's the answer for that. Okay. So yeah, this video, yeah, I had a feeling this was going to happen. It's a lot to go over, a lot to explain, and I think a lot of examples and my going slow is a good thing. So I want you guys to do just the first page. What is this, 539 here, on your own. Do the rest of these. And you can kind of see what they're doing here. I'm looking at like number 7 here. They're even pointing out the steps. We have 8 times, and then in parentheses, 3 plus 4 divided by 2. Well, you do the 3 plus 4 first, and that's going to be 7. And then 8 times 7 divided by 2. And so just fill in those little blanks here. And give this a shot, you guys. There's some hard ones, but we're going to go over them and take our time tomorrow, and then on Tuesday we'll do the next page. So, and then we'll definitely play some games with Pemdas. So, anyway, 17-minute video, much longer than usual. I will see you guys tomorrow.